Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. So the market is still holding up pretty well. We have some big news with Tesla and a couple other stocks this morning. Tesla will be recalling nearly 500,000 vehicles. So that'll be huge. There's a pretty big recall going on with Tesla right now. From what I read, it looks like there is a problem in the Model 3 and was it the Model 3 and I want to say the Model S, I believe. So yeah, basically there's a problem with the trunk where it seems like when the Tesla owners close their trunk, it can damage the rear view camera and it can cause some problems. So that's not good. Tesla is dipping down a little bit in pre-market right now. A couple news companies reported on this, but Tesla's definitely getting close to that support again, Tom.
Yeah, that support right around 1060 looks pretty huge, I think, for the next, or at least for the next few minutes. I think if we break below this at open, which it definitely looks like we're going to do, I think we could see a pretty big move to the downside. We'll be breaking through that support, and we'll also be breaking below that 1,000 SMA on the 5-minute chart, which is pretty good. And looking at it on the daily, you can see Tesla's been kind of in a downtrend here. And if we kind of draw a trend line, I believe, from the top, I believe that it's pretty close here, like lining up with this trend line. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it kind of is bouncing right off that trend line too. So, it looks like some bad technicals are coming in for Tesla with this bad news. And man, I feel bad for the S&P 500 today with how flat we were yesterday. I'm really hoping that Tesla can, or that the market can maybe hold up, even though Tesla's going down. But I don't know. If Tesla starts selling off big time, the market might start to drop a little.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, to be honest, the market is holding up pretty well. For the huge uptrend that we saw over like the past week or so, I was expecting at least at least somewhat of a dip. Like so far the market dipped down just like a tiny bit yesterday, but besides that, it is holding up very well. But to be fair, it's not like we saw a breakout yet. We are still channeling between $476 as support, and we do have a pretty big resistance right around $478.81, which is the all-time high.
Yeah, that all-time high right there is going to be huge. And I'm looking for a breakout today, somewhere right around there. If we are able to break out, I think it could be a pretty good play to the upside. I'm also looking for a breakdown below 477.80 this morning as well. If we fall below that, I think we might, we might be able to get a quick scalp to the downside. But other than that, I'm going to be looking for that break of all-time highs with how close we are.
All right, sounds good. So another stock that's moving a lot is ISIG. This one has just been exploding. There's a lot of talk about a short squeeze, and every day we have at least one person on the stream mention it. So we're going to cover it right now. And it's up 25% over the past couple of days. It went from $11 at the highs of 32, and it's still running. It's technically above its resistance around $30, and there's just a lot of hype with this one, and honestly, it has the hype that a lot of these other quote-unquote short squeeze stocks have been lacking.
Yeah, it really does. And, there's been a lot of analysts and stuff like that talking about this one having a really high potential to short squeeze. And, I guess if Wall Street Bets and stuff can start to get behind this one, I feel like this one could start to move pretty big. It looks like it is coming down here at open, but I will say I do like the movement this morning, and hopefully we can go back up above $32 and continue up with that momentum. Once we broke up above 30, I was hoping for a little bit larger of a move.
Yeah, I know what you mean for sure. So one stock that's looking pretty good today is Disney, Tom. It's always nice to see Disney in the green. It's actually breaking out of what looks to be a couple week highs. It's still at a pretty low level, but we're finally back above 156. And I'll say, there's definitely this is definitely a pretty good move straight from open.
Yeah, it is. I think that looks like a pretty good break, especially if Tuesday's high. It looks pretty nice, and I could say this one could keep going here. I love the way it broke out this week. It looks very nice, especially on the daily chart, Mike. On the daily, I think it looks really good. We might be able to come up to this 160 resistance over the next couple of days. I'm definitely seeing 160 as the next major resistance here. But looking at Disney going forward, though, we're still a little bit away from that, and I think it could be a pretty good play up towards that, especially with the breakout today. we'll definitely have to keep this one on the radar, Mike. I know that they got that patent earlier in the week, which was some pretty good news for them. So hopefully that started the uptrend.
Hopefully. All right, so it looks like we're having a pretty good day so far. Chewy's in the green, Baba's in the green, a couple other ones, but Baba and Baidu specifically, I want to take a look at because the China stocks have been struggling a decent amount over like the past, well, really over the past year, but just a lot over the past couple months and even over the past week. And this movement that we're seeing today is really good. It's obviously a nice pop, and the China stocks are kind of like growth stocks in the sense that when they go on these uptrends, like they'll just keep on running for weeks. And the same thing to the downside. Like we've seen that, China stocks have been on a huge downtrend basically all year, and it's been really rough. But Baba's definitely showing some potential today. Baidu as well. And I've been seeing so much, like so many millions of dollars flowing into call options on Baba, Baidu, Queb, FXI, even JD. Like, there's just a lot of money flowing into them. And if we're being honest, these stocks are at pretty good levels. It's just they're risky in their own way.
Yeah, they are. Like obviously China can always come out with some type of random news or anything, and that's really the main risk is that, it's just the main risk is just China. Like they're normally pretty good companies, especially in Baba's case. It's just China obviously plays a huge role in everything going on, and there was some bad news yesterday which made him drop, but this recovery today, Mike, is actually fantastic. I mean, we honestly we're higher than we were yesterday now at this point. So it's looking pretty good. And I'm glad to see us recover back. I know yesterday was looking pretty scary, and we got pretty close to that low over the past years, which is pretty low down there around like 108. So I'm glad that we're coming back.
All right, Tom. I'm definitely not gonna complain about the movement we're seeing today. When you have a combination of Chewy in the green, Disney in the green, even DraftKings is in the green. DraftKings is up a decent amount today. It's up nearly 1.5%. I'll definitely take it. I mean, we're even seeing some good movement from AI, Zoom, Corsair. It looks like people are maybe finally starting to realize that these stocks are at good levels, but it's looking good so far.
Man, I hope so. And then we're seeing the reopening plays doing well, like CCL again too. Like it's a really good day overall. It looks like for these like beaten down stocks. It's awesome to see. I'm glad to see like ChargePoint and Blink also starting to get back. I know those stocks have been also been taking a pretty huge hit as well. And man, it's a really good day as far as everything's concerned. The main stocks in the red today, Mike, one of the big ones that we've been talking about lately is AMD. It's actually pretty flat considering the rest of the market. Same thing with Nvidia. I know that it's slightly green now, or yeah, it's slightly green, but either way, it's definitely not moving like we're seeing the other ones. It's very nice to see these growth stocks coming back. Even Zoom is looking really good today on the recovery. I hope that they can get up off that 180 support. I know that support was pretty huge for them.
Yeah, I think Zoom looks great right now. They're up 1.3% today, which, like, yes, it's good, but it's nothing like crazy. And I just feel like they're at a huge support, just like you said, right around $180 each. It's a solid company, and I really think it's at a really good level, and I think we can definitely see this one pop. Not necessarily like, I don't think it's going to explode like over the next, hour or so, but I feel like over like the next couple of weeks and even over the next couple of months, I feel like this is going to be one of the best stocks, and that might be an unpopular opinion, but with everything going on right now, it's hard to go wrong with it, in my opinion. Their earnings have been awesome. I know a lot of people are like, oh, why would you trade Zoom when the world is the world's reopening and all that? But it's like, one, Omicron surging, but even so, like, Zoom is still posting record, or they're really beating everyone's expectations. They're beating their own estimates. They're beating analyst estimates. Their stock continues to fall. They have a great EPS, and they're like the leading online web conferencing company. I know they have serious competition from Google and Microsoft, and that is a concern, but they're still leading the market, and they're they're doing very well and they have a lot of potential to innovate.
Yeah, they do. That's the big thing. They're on an online platform, and they can do a ton of different innovations on there. And with the metaverse and everything, who knows? Maybe they'll get into that. And honestly, like, they are still pretty big. We're even on Zoom right now, actually. So I know that we're not biased or anything like that. But looking at it, I really like Zoom. I think it's a pretty good setup here, especially with this huge support around 175. And then I love the bounce off 180 today, I think, or yesterday. I think that was really good. It looks like it's setting up well on the daily. And I'll tell you, if this support ends up holding up, people are going to be pretty upset that they weren't in Zoom. Same thing with DraftKings. DraftKings is in a very similar setup. Got pretty close to that low down there around $25, and it's having a pretty similar bounce back up today.
Awesome. All right, so we have Ubi saying, what do you think about MU for the day? Let's take a look. MU, so it's down like 2.5%. Like, this is a really unpopular opinion, but I love chip stocks for the long term, but I'm relatively bearish on them for the short term. I know they're powerhouses and they've been exploding up, but I feel like chip stocks are not the move right now, and that's only for the short term. For the long term, I think they'll do fine, but I can definitely see MU going lower.
Yeah, and they've been powerhouses. Like, MU has been flying up for the past like two months, 2 or 3 months. It's honestly exploded from 65, and you can see it's actually double topping right here, right at its all-time high. So definitely be careful. That's going to be a huge resistance here. I could definitely see it going lower too. And I'll be honest, like, I loved it whenever it broke out of this like bullish flag that it was in here. Once it finally broke out of this, I definitely saw it coming up towards 95 where it is now. But now that we hit and we double topped, unfortunately, we didn't break out. So I'm definitely going to be looking for a little bit of a move back down. And especially since we're seeing AMD and NVIDIA down, since these ones look like they're going back on the downtrend, it's probably going to start dragging down these other ones that, weren't priced as well as AMD and NVIDIA were.
Yep. And then related to Zoom, Vicky said, Zoom was created way before the pandemic and have excellent growth plans and leadership. They are the unified communications of the future. Awesome to hear that, and I love Zoom for the long term, especially at this level. And yeah, they're a solid company, and they're doing very, very well so far. But Tom, shifting over into another stock really quickly, how about this NEO action today? It's looking really good. It's up 3%. We're seeing a really nice bounce off of that $28 support, and we're getting really close to that resistance right around $29.50.
Wow, I'm glad this one held up. I remember talking about this one yesterday, and it was not looking good on the daily chart. If this one fell lower again today and broke that support, it was going to get nasty. So I'm really happy it came back. Maybe this shows that the market is going to start buying up these stocks, because there's a pretty big wall there at $28, it looks like. I'm glad it's coming back, and man, we're exploding. If we can get back up and above $30 over the next few trading days, that would make for an amazing rally. And who knows, maybe the Santa rally is still going to come through for us, even though the week was pretty slow so far.
I think NEO goes to show you how some stocks really go in phases in terms of hype. So I remember last year when NEO was exploding up, all you saw every single day was NEO to $100, NEO to $300, insane NEO prediction, $5,000 by 2030, or you know what I mean? NEO was the stock last year, or it was one of the top stocks. There were a lot of stocks that did very well, especially Tesla and other companies, but NEO was insane. It went from $2 up to $67. That's crazy. And this year, it's not that it crashed, it's just it was very disappointing to say the least. And last year, everyone was talking about it. It was all over, everywhere, But this year, honestly, I don't really hear anyone talking about it, whether it's on Wall Street Bets or even on YouTube that much.
Yeah, I think once people started taking profits, it just, obviously the overall sentiment just got destroyed on it. Whenever it was going up, I remember everybody was saying, man, NEO's the next Tesla. They're over there in China. They're going to have crazy sales and all this stuff. And, they probably saw some sales numbers come in that weren't the best and stuff. And it probably killed some sentiments. But, for the longer term, though, these stocks will probably do pretty good. And like you said, everything goes on these type of runs like this. even Tesla did this in the beginning. I remember a long time ago, Tesla was consolidating like this for a few years before it would explode. And, then it would have some crazy explosion up towards $200 a share or something. So definitely, definitely keep it on the radar though. Like you said, Mike, it went from 2 to 66 the last time it had some hype. If we get some good numbers or something with this, I could see it having a pretty nice explosion. Not the same percentage wise as last time, but I could see it at least coming up towards 60 or possibly even breaking that if it gets enough hype.
Yeah, and I just checked their market cap. It's actually like, I don't want to say low, but it's only 43 billion. To put that into perspective, like I know we were looking at like Tesla yesterday, which is over a trillion, and then like Rivian has a market cap of like 89 billion. Like a couple weeks ago, it was like well over like not a couple hundred million, but I think it was like 160 billion, something like that. But either way, NIO, it definitely has potential out there. But I just think it's very ironic when we have everyone talking about a certain stock, whether it's, NIO or AMC or whatever. Most of the time, like peak hype is when the stock is like really overextended to the upside. In reality, like the best time to buy is when like it's low, but no one talks about it when it's low. You know what I mean? Like I bet right now, no one's talking about NIO, DraftKings, and Corsair. But if and most likely when they pop up, you'll hear about them all over YouTube and everywhere, and TikTok and Reddit and everywhere. So I just thought that was, I think that's an interesting aspect of the market.
It really is. I will say that's a very interesting thing, and it's always been like that. I will say it's kind of a strange scenario because everybody, like, I feel like everybody knows buy low, sell high. Like it's kind of like, it's almost like a second grade answer like to the stock market, but in the end, like it's almost so simple that people like to overcomplicate it, I think, a lot. And people start looking at like, hey, my MACD is not lining up, my RSI isn't super high, or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff that, a lot of people are looking at, I think that, and then they should just look at the price action, I think, more of in the end. Like if you just look at the pricing, you go back a couple of years, you find some good supports. Like if you start to see a nice uptrend, you just acquire some shares, and it can end up being a pretty good way to go. And then once you do see the confirmed movement to the upside, then you can start getting calls and maybe some like leap options and stuff like that. It's a really good way to go. And like right now, like these stocks are going to be awesome. Like I know, like if you guys are following us at all, like definitely stick with us, because I feel like as these stocks start to rise, Mike and I are going to be pretty happy over the next couple of months, or at least over the next year. And hopefully it all pays off. Like in the end, we just need these growth stocks to start going up, and it's a long-term game. Like sometimes these stocks start to fall a little bit, but you just have to have that kind of mental toughness to look at it more objectively for the longer term.
For sure. All right, and then we have Vicky saying NIO is a replacement battery company, not an EV company. Cannot ever, never, ever be compared to Tesla's technology. Tesla definitely has some of the best technology in the game right now, and they're a $1 trillion company for a reason. But NIO is definitely in the EV sector. They do make electric vehicles. So it's definitely like related to Tesla. Tesla is a way better company than NIO, obviously, for many, many reasons. But the main point I even compared it to Tesla was because of the market cap. For example, NIO has a market cap of $44 billion in different industries and sectors. I guess you can say have different price to earnings ratios and things like that. And the main point was to show that NIO has a $44 billion market cap compared to Tesla, who has a market cap of $1 trillion. So it just goes to show that major discrepancy, just for the valuation terms, we can say. But then
a lot of people who do argue for NIO, I will say, like, the people who argue for NIO say that NIO is based in China, where there's so many more people, so they might get more sales and all this stuff. I'm not saying that they're better than Tesla by any means. I don't think so. But just that's the main argument, is that they're in China and there can be a lot more possible sales over there.
Absolutely. And if we're being honest, like I mean, Tom and I definitely know that Tesla is better than, NIO, but the world is changing, and like I know Tesla is at like the forefront of, I guess you could say, like electrification of vehicles. But like Tom said, like there are a ton of people over in China, and NIO is a Chinese company, and we all know how China likes to. I guess you could see. I guess you could say like be like. I guess we could say favor themselves, right? So if we have this American company Tesla that's crushing everyone, I can easily see, the Chinese government saying, "Oh, we're gonna put this ban on Tesla, or we're gonna favor NIO in this way or that way." So like, I don't think NIO should be discounted because of that. But either way, the stock's looking good today. So then we have George saying EVs are up except Tesla right now. ChargePoint and BLNK are also up. So yeah, that is interesting to see. In all fairness, Tesla has had a pretty strong uptrend, and then this news of all the recalls definitely is it's not good to see. But the stock is definitely holding up relatively well. But yeah, I mean, of course, it would be nice to see it up today.
Yeah, that recall was pretty bad. You never want to see a recall like that. The good news is that it was just for like the backup camera. It's not for anything too crazy, at least. But in the end, though, you'd hate to see any type of recalls. It looks like Tesla's kind of holding the support around 1060. It looks like it popped below it momentarily, but it came right back up. I don't know. I was expecting Tesla to take a little bit more of a drop, in my opinion, today, but they ended up holding up pretty well. Obviously, they're a powerhouse, and the rest of the market's up, so that's good at least.
Yep. All right. We have Hunter saying, your mic will pick up my cheers from across the country if DraftKings gets back to 60 over the next year. Say, trust me, Hunter, you'll be hearing it a lot on stream. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, it's so low right now. I don't think anyone was expecting it to be trading at $27. Like, especially after like that uptrend back in September. Like, it's been rough to say the least, but I think there's a decent chance that we could get back to 60. I think it'll be closer to the end of 2022, but we'll see what happens, and it all depends on the deals they make, their earnings, of course, and of course just interest rates and how the other like growth stocks are doing. But either way, I'm really excited for the long term, and hopefully we get back to 60 sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I hope to see some more legislation coming through from like some of these states maybe over the next couple of years. That might be good to see. I know that people are starting to like create like petitions to like do sports betting and stuff like that. I've been kind of like looking up some of the like laws in some of the states. Apparently people are they're trying to like get some of this stuff onto the ballots and stuff, but we'll have to see if it ends up working. But in the end, though, I mean, I just can't wait for their growth. I think there's lots of potential coming up. We have the Super Bowl coming up, over the next month or two, I believe, and that's going to be a pretty big event. And then obviously, like baseball is going to start up. I'm sure the NBA Finals are pretty soon too. So that's going to be some pretty big events coming up.
There we go. Yeah, I agree with you for sure. And hopefully they have a better hold this quarter. Like I remember on their last quarter, their earnings were a little bit lower than expected because of, I think it was like 70% of like the NFL games that were played in that time. Like 70% of the favorite teams won. And then also like, I think it might have been like maybe 60% of the overs also won. So a common bet is you bet the favorite and the over, and that paid out big time for a lot of the users. But then again, that's just how the game goes sometimes, for sports betting companies. So, sometimes they're going to have way better holds than expected. So there's a lot of variables that come into place, but hopefully next quarter looks a lot better than this quarter. But I will say, Tom, growth stocks are looking pretty good today. I'm looking across my watch list, and I'm definitely not going to complain. Zoom's still holding up. AI, DraftKings, Disney. Like, a lot of times it sucks because we'll see, like, DraftKings up. Oh my gosh. Even Peloton's up today, 5%. So, the growth stocks are having a good day.
Yeah, that's insane to see Peloton up 5%. I don't think this company's went up in almost like we can see this is a pretty big day for them. This poor company has just been getting destroyed. I mean, wow, I feel bad for them. But hopefully, like if these growth stocks start to come back, hopefully they start to come back too. We can see actually their implied volatility is starting to get pretty high. So maybe the market's expecting a big move out of them. But wow. I mean, I really hope that 2022 goes better for them than 2021. I mean, honestly, ever since the beginning of this year, you can see they just got destroyed. So I'm glad to see him coming back. This is honestly one of the better moves today. They're like almost leading my watch list. They're in third place behind NIO and Baba, but man, I'm glad to see him up like this. I'm glad to see the China stocks up. It's a pretty good day. I'll be honest, Mike. Like maybe some of the value stocks are down, but those stocks have been flying. So, obviously I think we should start to see a transition out of those and back into these. But the question is when, and I'm really hoping that if we start to get some hype over the next few days, that it might like start to accelerate some buying into these.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was talking with Hunter about this a couple days ago, but Peloton is in a unique, I guess you could say, setup right now in the sense that the price is very, very low, but its IV is sky high on like, especially just like an absolute basis, but it's even pretty high on a relative basis. Basically, the stock right now is at, let's say, $36.50, and that's a very low price point. But you can go over to, let's say, like the February expiration, and you could sell the 25 strike puts for $100. 25 strike, Tom. The 25 strike puts for $100. So it's a pretty good ROI, because even if you 100% like cash secured it, if you 100% cash secured that, you would get like a 4% return in, what is that, like 50 days. But if you just use margin, that percentage return would go up to like probably like 30%.
Wow, yeah, that is insane. All the way down to the 25 strike. That would be crazy if you ended up getting filled there with the shares. But wow, I mean, that's insane. I don't see him going down that far, and that would be a pretty easy one to do. I might look into that one, Mike, because that's pretty easy. Obviously, it looks pretty good, and man, if this stock starts to go back up, that's going to be like one of the easiest, safest trades you could possibly have done in the market. And then especially, if you like Peloton, then even if you did get the shares, then just hold them or just keep rolling that out, because, they should end up going up pretty soon or eventually, you'd think.
Exactly. It's like, Tom, let's think about the worst case scenario. Let's say Peloton just keeps on sinking. It's like, if you're fine with picking up shares at 25, it's like, why not? $25? That's a steal. But I personally don't even think that it would even touch that. But with this horrible downtrend that we've been seeing with Peloton and other growth stocks, I don't really want to say it won't. But like, even if you do get assigned, you can just turn around and sell covered calls like basically right away.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a really good way to do it too. And you could just end up just implementing that wheel. It's a really good way to go. And honestly, like, Peloton's great for it right now, and there's a few other stocks like I think Corsair's in a pretty good opportunity for it. I'm trying to find some more that have like some pretty crazy like implied volatilities. I know Zoom's IV was pretty high there for a while, but it started to dip back down a little bit here over the past few days. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good opportunities for it right now. Peloton's crazy with that implied volatility, though. You're right. I mean, it's almost at 100%, which is really good, especially compared to the past like 6 months.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm also looking for some like high IV plays. I mean, Run looks decent, but it's not the same as Peloton. Like IV, like on a relative basis, isn't that high, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's not quite as high on yeah, like I see what you mean. It's just not quite as good, but I mean, if it was like up at 100%, it would be pretty good though. But
Yeah,
maybe it'll get there if it ends up having a couple more bad days. I know that RUN is been another one that's been on a terrible downtrend. It's been bad. And, another one that's been on a pretty bad downtrend has been Boeing. And man, I was hoping to see them doing a little bit better today, but they're kind of, well, they're doing decent, but they just look a little slow compared to some things.
for sure. And then Vicky said Peloton upgraded today to $70, but don't remember the company that upgraded them. And then she said buy small caps. So yeah, I'm looking at the news right now. It looks like Baird cuts price target on Peloton to $70 from $90, but it maintained its outperform rating. So it's not bad to see, and $70 is still a respectable price target. So I'm not going to complain, and it's kind of crazy to say this, Tom, but $70 on Peloton is double the current share price. Like, it just goes to show you, like, it took a beating over the past year, and it's not alone. Like, a lot of growth companies did.
Yeah, I know that's insane. Like I know that a lot of companies did. Unfortunately, Peloton even had that really unfortunate news. Like people were getting like injured and maimed, and in some cases, people were even dying because of the way their machines were like crushing people in them and stuff. And I know that's weird to say, but that really did hurt their stock there for a little while too. And hopefully, they can start to recover. I know that they just had some really bad sentiment, and like you said, Mike, it's not just them. Like it's the whole sector. And what I really like about this is that the whole sector is doing amazing today. Now, looking at it, like the whole sector looks pretty good. Like almost all growth stocks are going up, which is great, and they've also been going down at the same time, which I think is a good sign, because as they start to go up, it's going to mean that most of them will move in sympathy with each other, I believe.
Exactly. All right. So I just want to welcome everyone to the stream really quickly. Thank you guys so much for joining today, and welcome Jesse, Hunter, Matt, Thomas, Vicky, Kim, Ubi, George, who else? Corbin. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining today. Tom and I really appreciate all of you, and we're just happy to be here. So thank you guys so much for joining. And as we have Vicky saying, hit the like button if you like the stream. It would help us out so much. But welcome neighbor Jay as well. But yeah, let us know what stocks you're watching. We could definitely take a look. Welcome Kevin. So yeah, there we go, Tom. We're having a pretty good day so far. Of course, a lot of the stocks that we like are popping up. Even Corsair's in the green. It's looking good so far. Like, I know AI's even in the green, but I would say I guess you could say most happy about Zoom popping up, because there have been days where we'll see maybe DraftKings up or AI or even Chewy, right? But Zoom is just one of those stocks that like literally like day after day, week after week, it has just been getting destroyed over the past year, and it's been brutal. But the part that's disappointing is that they report good earnings. Like, they're doing great as a company, but they're just getting destroyed. And I understand that they were trading at a ridiculous valuation like a couple months ago, and I understand seeing a pullback. I mean, a couple months ago, or I guess you could say over a year ago now, they were trading at $588 a share, and now we're at $185. And I think it's very funny, and like we talked about earlier in the stream, is, I guess you could say when Zoom was at $588 a share, everyone was talking about Zoom. Oh, this stock is awesome to buy right now, but you don't hear one thing about it, like in the news or TikTok or anywhere, now that it's at a low price point.
Yeah, exactly. You don't hear anything about it. And that's the main thing that's so strange about the market. I remember like Tesla, for example, had a really big drop, not like Zoom, but I remember Tesla there was about to go bankrupt, they were saying, and all this crazy stuff. And apparently it really almost did. But in the end, and they ended up flying right back up. And, that was like right after all these analysts were saying that it was going to crash and burn and go bankrupt and all this crazy stuff. And then they end up flying up like, what was it the next couple of years? Like 500%, like 1,000%. I mean, I can't even explain how much Tesla's went up now. But, for a while there, though, they were definitely getting hit in a very similar fashion. And I'll be honest, that's what kind of made me learn my lesson with this whole situation is, whenever I saw that happen with Tesla, it blew my mind how nobody talked about it being low at the time. They were just talking about it being a terrible company. And then everybody, even the retail traders, they lost their sentiment with it. People in Discord and everything like that were hating on it so much and stuff. And it's just that was really the first situation that made me learn my lesson, was whenever everybody started hating on Tesla there for those couple months.
Yeah, that's actually very true. That's so true. All right. And then Vicky, regards to Peloton, Vicky said, Peloton will survive. People weren't dying. A mother didn't take care of her child, and unfortunately, tragedy, stroke. So, yeah, I know what you mean. I know that child did pass away, but I know that it was a bad situation. So, but I agree, Peloton should survive, and the stock's doing pretty well right now, and it definitely has a lot of momentum, which is good to see.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it has some good momentum to it. In the end, I agree with Vicky. It's not really the company's fault. But in the end, though, it's always bad press, and it just creates bad sentiment and makes stuff go down. And look what's happened. So
True.
hopefully it can recover. Hopefully we don't get any more bad press. And I'd really like to see some good numbers come out for Peloton. I will say they haven't helped anything by these earnings getting pretty bad. So I will say I'd like to see them get some better sales and some better numbers. Hopefully their first quarter does a little bit better.
Yep. All right, and then we have George saying RKLB rocketing up. Tom, I have not looked at this one in a while, but it's not looking bad.
Yeah, it's not. It's been in a crazy setup ever since it had those that earnings, and I know they had like some like rocket launches and stuff that got some hype a while ago. But it looks like they're kind of doing pretty good here off that like $11 support. I would say today looks pretty good for them, and if this one can continue, I'm pretty interested in this one, Mike. Like I know SPCE was pretty popular there for a while. Obviously now it's started to dip down quite a bit. Now we have ASTR and RKLB coming in, and I feel like RKLB is looking pretty decent compared to the other ones. And I will say I've been looking into their company a little bit, Mike, and they do make some pretty good like rockets and stuff like that. So they are like a company that actually does something, which is pretty good news at least.
A company that actually does something. Let's go.
I know, like most of these companies that get hyped up, like SPCE, for example, like they don't really do much with space at all. They just like send people up for like tourist rides and stuff.
Yeah, I'll actually give SPCE some credit though, because like you said, at least they are doing the like the tourism side of the business. But some of these companies, like especially last year when like the EV hype was going on, like when the EV hype was at its peak, how about Nikola? That stock was a disaster. Like they literally rolled their truck down a hill. Like that was bad. And another one was QuantumScape. I understand a lot of people argue that this one has a lot of potential for the long term, but it's just like at the time last year they went from like $10 up to $132. And they had, I believe, $0 in revenue at the time. And I believe they didn't even have like an official product at the time. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure when it was running up last year around this time, they had no revenue and not even a product.
Yeah, that's insane. Like it's making me think of that company Jordan Belfort was selling on the Wolf of Wall Street whenever there ended up being some shack in the back of some guy's house. Remember that?
Yeah.
Man, like some of these stocks that have been hyped up are kind of crazy. I know that, they're not that bad, but man, like, I remember like a few years ago, remember whenever those shipping companies like Top Ships and stuff were going crazy. Yeah. I remember there were some companies out there that were starting to fly up that honestly were like that. They like people started looking up what the company really was, and it ended up being like someone working out of their house. And like there's a bunch of crazy stuff. But man, I'm really glad to see that some of these growth stocks are going up. But in the end, though, like that was a really crazy scenario with like Nikola and some of those other stocks. And I really hope that some of these stocks like RKLB, stocks that make like actual rockets, and hopefully they start getting some good contracts like with NASA and stuff. This company reminds me more of like a SpaceX, for example. I think that this company has some pretty good potential, at least.
There we go. All right, then we have Kathy saying, I've been waiting for AMD to pop. What do you think for support and resistance? So AMD it's definitely a powerhouse. It's down 0.2% today, and it tried to fall earlier, but it's not going down without a fight. So Tom, what levels do you have for support and resistance?
Man, for AMD today, I'm seeing a pretty big resistance here, right around like 148 even. I mean, it definitely hit this like right around market open and came right back down. But I will say though that it looks like a good bottom support. It's going to be around 146. But the problem is it's kind of up and down today, and it hasn't moved too much. So I will say it's a little hard to trade because I'm seeing a more major resistance up here around like 152. So maybe if we start to break out up above like 149, we could have a nice move up towards like 152 or something like that. But just keep in mind, it's kind of moving pretty crazily today. Lots of up and down movement. That bottom support's definitely going to be like 146 though.
Sounds good. All right. And then Vicky said levels for Square, please. So Square SQ is also having a day. So what levels do you have for this one?
Square looks pretty good, I will say. This one's had a lot better movement than AMD. I will say it's looking a lot better. It looks like we're actually approaching resistance right around like 166. That was definitely a pretty good level the other day. Hopefully we can get up through this. It's up quite a bit. It's up 2.2%. I know it's not the biggest move, but that's a pretty decent move. So hopefully we can break 166 to the upside. But honestly, I would expect a bit of a slowdown here, to be honest. But hopefully it breaks out above that. Now that we passed up above 162, I would use 162 as a pretty good support.
Sounds good. And then Hunter said Nicholas Shack had wheels at least. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Oh, gosh. Yeah, so looking across the board, Tom, we are seeing some good momentum today across a lot of different stocks. Like, it's looking good. Like, DraftKings in the green. What else can you ask for? Gosh, but yeah, I mean, we're looking pretty good. A lot of stocks are moving to the upside. And do you have like any favorite setups or anything?
We all need to check out Aerotine International. I found the picture of their shack.
God.
But
yeah, that
no,
name
for real,
does
though,
sound familiar now that you say it. So yeah. God.
Yeah, Aerotine International. That was funny from the movie. But I really hope that DraftKings can break up above 2750. I'm seeing a pretty big resistance here at 2750. There was definitely a big level there over the last few days. If we can break up above that, DraftKings might have like a second coming today. It might be a pretty good play to the upside if it can break that. But as far as stocks are concerned today, Mike, like I love the movement so far today, but honestly, things are starting to get pretty overextended on an intraday level. Like we're starting to see things like FSLY up 5.2%. It's pretty much went straight up all day long. XPEV, NIO, these stocks are starting to get kind of crazy today. Like I would honestly expect a slowdown eventually. I mean, I'm so glad to see the upwards movement, but at this point, I'm just not sure that, maybe playing calls would be a good option here anymore, because it's starting to be at the point where I would expect it to at least start to slow down or do, at least consolidate or something.
Yeah, look at Neo's chart intraday. It like literally since open, this thing has just gone straight up. Like on that 5-minute chart, there has not been one pullback. Like literally every single minute or every single 5-minute interval straight up. And the thing is now is, let's say you're looking at it and you want like to play it to the upside, like some of these calls, like you probably don't want to be buying because just like the time premium and yeah. So I definitely agree with you saying that some of these stocks are getting overextended intraday. Like maybe if Neo came back down to 29, maybe if it retested that, it could be a decent dip buy, but yeah, I don't think it's smart to just blindly buy into some of these plays at this point, especially.
Yeah, I think that's pretty smart. Like maybe if you guys like wait a little bit and you see like a little bit of a dip on some of these stocks, it might be a good entry there. Hopefully you entered whenever they were a little bit lower if you were looking at them. I think that would have been smarter, obviously, to enter maybe on that breakout this morning up above like 2850, like that area intraday yesterday. That would have been a pretty good like little breakout trade there. I know SPY, the SPY's just been pretty flat. We're kind of waiting for a breakout up above like 479. I know that all-time high is pretty close to right there, and it looks like SPY's having some trouble getting up there too, but hopefully it can get up. I even see NVIDIA starting to climb back into the green today, Mike. Like it looks like a lot of these stocks coming back. Even AMD, which was red, is almost a lot better.
All right, Tom, I don't know if it was just my
AI
internet
here.
or my connection.
AI looks pretty good too, I think, up above 32. Are we lagging, Mike?
Yeah, I think I'm lagging. I think that's the problem. So I don't know if that went through the stream or not, but if it did, can you just re-say that portion with NVIDIA?
Yeah, NVIDIA looks pretty good, I think, to the upside. I think it looks awesome today. I really like it, and I'm so glad to see it turn around. Like at market open, it was starting to look pretty scary there, and now that this turned around, we can see the SPY is starting to try to break out to all-time highs, and I would say if AMD and NVIDIA are able to turn around and these growth stocks keep up, man, it's going to be a good day for the indices.
Yeah, there we go. Hunter said Tom is being abducted. God, I think it's me, Hunter. I think, yeah, because I think it's definitely my end, but I don't know. Yeah, it looks like it did go through the stream. So sorry about that, guys. sometimes like the internet problem is very annoying because like normally if we're like just doing like a Saturday video or something, like if it's just me, like it's only my internet that can go wrong. But on the live streams, we need like both internets to be like functioning like perfectly because it's my internet and then Tom's internet too. So it's like if my internet goes down, then it hurts everyone, and then if Tom's goes down, then we can't hear Tom. So it's a mess, and we're sorry for that problem. But Tom, I see you have a chart of Bitcoin pulled up. What's new with that?
Yeah, it looks like this morning Bitcoin's looks like it's back on the uptrend a little bit. I will say I was pretty disappointed in Bitcoin this week. I was last week I saw that touch of like $52,000. I was really hoping for a nice move up above that, but we ended up getting rejected, came right down. But honestly, it looks like Bitcoin might be back on the uptrend. I will say we hit right off this 46,000 support. Honestly, I think it looks like a pretty good dip buy back to the upside. If we look at it on the daily chart, this was a pretty big dip that we had, honestly, and I would say it looks like a pretty good buy. It kind of looks like on the daily it could go lower, but if we start to see a couple more green candles, I think that would be a pretty good double bottom there.
There we go. So awesome stuff. The market's looking good. Bitcoin's not looking too bad. It's definitely holding its ground. So Tom, market's looking good. Do you have any last minute plays or any last minute setups before we end the stream?
Some of these stocks haven't moved too much today. Like I will say, like Apple and some of these other stocks that dipped down at open look like they're just now starting to go on a decent little run here. So while some of these growth stocks are getting a little bit overextended, Apple and some of these other ones are starting to come up pretty rapidly. So maybe Apple and AMD and some of those might be some pretty good intraday plays. But looking at it, I really like these stocks as well as Facebook. I think Facebook looks like a pretty good play today as well. This one's starting to really break out, and I'm definitely going to have this one on the radar with all the metaverse news and everything. But man, it's just been such a great day, Mike. I'm so glad to see these stocks up, and for once, we're finally we're ending the stream on a good note.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, lots of stocks in the green today. And then George mentioned Teladoc even, which is actually looking really good, and this one is at a really good level. And Teladoc says Kathy has been buying the dip like crazy these past couple of days. We all know her year was terrible, but so like she did have a very good year last year, and I feel like Teladoc at this level isn't bad. So definitely a good point there. Hunter said Tesla saved a huge part of her year. That is true. Yeah, a lot of the other stocks she's holding took a really big beating, but Tesla is so heavily weighted in her portfolio, and Tesla has done very well. So that's definitely a good point. And even though the ARK funds have been pulling back, like you kind of like that's just like a part of the game. Like when you run up so much in 2020, like they're going to be volatile. It's the same way that like if we look at even a company like DraftKings, today it's up 3.7%, and the market itself is only up 0.2%. So like sometimes when the market's down 0.5% and we see DraftKings down 4%, like the point is that a lot of the stocks that Kathy's holding are just volatile stocks, so like it's only natural to see those types of wild swings. And Vicky said the ARK time frame is 5 years, so yeah, I mean it's natural to see swings, and the good thing is that she's always researching and innovating. So there we go. With that being said, thank you guys so much for joining the stream today, and we hope you have an amazing rest of your day.